The time 6:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Romesh Piris and read by Tilani Piris. The President pays homage to the Sri Mahabodhiya. The President pays homage to the Jai Shri Mahabodhiya. The Minister of Health requests all factions refrain from creating fake news pertaining to COVID-19 related deaths. COVID-19 recovery tally on the rise. All decisions concerning the coronavirus taken to protect the rights of the living. Isolation in Dam Street, Keselwatta and Maradana to be lifted. Tomorrow and parts of Ahaliyagoda and Godakavala AGA to be isolated. And on international news, President Trump's grievances leave Americans in need in limbo. And on sports news, Sri Lanka posts their highest test score in South Africa at the Centurion. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa paid homage to the Jai Shri Mahabodhiya in Anuradhapura. The head of state called on the Atamasthana-adhipati and the Chief Sanganayaka of the North Central Province, Dr. Pallegama Sirinivasa Nayaka Thera today. According to the President's Media Division, President Rajapaksa attended religious activities that were held at the Ruanvali Saya Stupa and also inquired into the well-being of the devotees during the visit. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa visited Pahalagama in Alapattu, Anuradhapura to inspect the damage caused to maize plantations by the fall armyworm. Farmers have been severely affected by the fall armyworm and have damaged crops in many districts this year as well. In addition, the farmers have also told the President about the threat posed by wild elephants to their plantations. The number of COVID-19 recoveries recorded in the country has increased to 32,701 after 650 COVID-19 patients who recovered were discharged from hospitals during the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country rose to 40,380 following the detection of 598 patients yesterday. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health said 7,492 persons, including 4 foreign nationals, are currently receiving treatment for the coronavirus at 65 facilities across the country. The State Minister Shehan Semasinga says all decisions concerning the COVID-19 pandemic are taken based on the advice of the health sector. Addressing a public meeting in Anuradhapura, he said the final rites of COVID-19 victims are also being carried out as per health sector's recommendations. He also noted that people who are debating on the burial and cremation of coronavirus victims must realize that the government is taking all these decisions to protect the rights of the living. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The commander of the Sri Lanka Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, stated more areas have been declared as isolated areas with immediate effect. Accordingly, Ahaliyagoda Assistant Government Agents Division and the Godakavala AGA Division have been isolated in this manner. Following areas have been placed under isolation. In the Ahaliyagoda AGA Division, Minnana, Vilegoda, Yakudagoda, Asgangula North and Bopatta, and in the Godakavala AGA Division, Rakwana Town, Rakwana North, Rakwana South, Massimbula and Kottala. The isolation orders in certain areas in the Colombo district will be lifted tomorrow, while several new areas will go under isolation. As per the head of the National Operations Centre for the Prevention of COVID-19 outbreak, the isolation orders in the following areas will be lifted from 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Dam Street, Keselwatta and Maradana Police Divisions, and in the Slave Island Police Division, Vakanda and Hunupitiya Gramaniladari Divisions, Mayura Place of the Vallavatta Police Division, and in the Borella Police Division, Halgahavatta and Kalipulavatta Gramaniladari Divisions, Laksanda Sevana Housing Scheme of the Vellampitiya Police Division, and meanwhile the following areas are newly declared isolated areas and the isolation orders will come into effect from 5 a.m. tomorrow. In the Keselwatta Police Division, Alutkade West, Alutkade North, Gramaniladari Divisions, and areas declared as isolated in the remaining districts will continue to remain under isolation until further notice. That ends local news for now.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddha Lepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddha Lepa, the Vidya Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddha Lepa Vidya Mahatmya.
The Ministry of Health has requested all factions to refrain from creating fake news pertaining to COVID-19 related deaths. Issuing a statement, the ministry said, based on specialist reports received thus far, remains of all persons who pass away due to COVID-19 are cremated. The Health Ministry said it has been observed that false information is being spread by several politicians and websites pertaining to the cremation or burial of COVID-19 victims. Meanwhile, the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Asela Gunawardena, said a special investigation will be launched pertaining to the releasing of the remains of COVID-19 victims. The investigation is being launched after taking into consideration statements made by several factions over the past few days. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddha Lepa Vidya Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddha Lepa.
Moving on with Watchlight, all movie theatres will reopen from January 1st, 2021. The Prime Minister's office said that Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who is also the Minister of Cultural Affairs, had instructed authorities to reopen cinemas in the country, except those in isolated areas. The authorities are instructed to reopen cinemas and allow them to operate in line with the health guidelines issued to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. That came to you in Watchlight. Now we move on with world news and the headlines first. President Trump's grievances leave Americans in need in limbo. Japan to suspend all travelers from abroad. IRA wanted to exclude Sinn Féin from talks. President Donald Trump's dark mood is worsening and the country is suffering his wrath. Furious at Senate Republican leaders for acknowledging he lost to President-elect Joe Biden, Trump has so far rejected the coronavirus stimulus package they negotiated with Democrats and his own administration, leaving jobless benefits to lapse for millions of Americans and embarrassing his one-time political allies. Insistent his own government is working against him by ignoring false claims of voter fraud, he is dangling the prospect of shutting it down as he enjoys a winter holiday in South Florida. The Japanese government has decided to suspend new entries of all non-resident foreign nationals following the detection of variants of the coronavirus outside the country. The government will implement the measure between December 28th and January 31st. Under the new measure, all people returning to or entering Japan from countries and territories where new variant cases have been reported must submit a document proving that they are COVID-19 negative. The Irish Republican Army wanted to exclude Sinn Féin from proposed ceasefire talks with the British government, according to the newly released Irish State Papers from 1990. The Irish government document said the IRA's so-called Army Council told 2 prison chaplains that it was prepared to talk to the UK government, but its least favourite approach was to involve Sinn Féin. It said some provisional IRA chiefs were averse to the socialist views being espoused by the party leaders. Back to the world news headlines. President Trump's grievances leave Americans in need in limbo. Japan to suspend all new travelers from abroad. IRA wanted to exclude Sinn Féin from talks. That ends world news. Now on development news, the Ministry of Environment has directed its attention towards discontinuing the issuance of permits to persons who fail to maintain quarries, soil and sand mining sites in a stringent manner. Deep pits dug in some quarries have resulted in persons dying after falling in. The Environment Ministry said rehabilitation work at the relevant sites should be carried out at the expense of the individual obtaining the excavation permits. Steps have been taken to include the relevant clauses in the agreement for the permit. That's development news. Now it's sports. Cricket, Day 2 of the Sri Lanka tour of South Africa. Dimuth Karunaratne led Sri Lanka today, posted their highest test score in South Africa, and the side managed to post 396 in the first innings of the ongoing first test here at the Supersport Park in Centurion. Dinesh Chandimal and Dhananjay De Silva played knocks of 85 and 79 respectively. Before this, Sri Lanka's highest score in South Africa was 340, which the side had posted in 2012 at Newlands, Cape Town. For South Africa, Lutho Sipamla skepped 4 wickets while Wiam Mulder took 3 wickets. Short while ago, South Africa were 162 runs for 1 wicket, trailing the tourists by 234 runs. In other 2 test matches, both on day 2 at Stumps, India were 277 for the loss of 5 wickets in reply to Australia's first innings score of 195. In Mount Maunganui in New Zealand, Pakistan were 30 runs for the loss of a single wicket in reply to New Zealand's first innings total of 431. That came to in sports news. Now we continue with business news. The State Information Office says that Sri Lanka is waiving landing and parking fees of international flights to Mattala and Ratmalana airports in a bid to encourage more airlines to call. Tourist flights are to be operated on a schedule prepared by the Ministry of Tourism and Civil Aviation Authority. The landing fees will be waived from December 26th this year to November 19th, 2021 to encourage international airlines to operate flights to Sri Lanka. That's business news.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy.
Calm down, everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge.
LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka is of the view that the recent increase in volatility of the exchange rate is unwarranted and unacceptable. Hence, issuing a statement, the CBSL stated that it will take appropriate action aggressively hereafter to contain the volatility in the domestic foreign exchange market. The central bank expects that these actions, together with the continuation of the curtailment of non-essential imports, will enable the rupee to appreciate within the next few days towards the levels of below 185 rupees per US dollar observed in November 2020. That's economic news.
Congratulations on your promotion. When will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And now to conclude the weather report, due to the low-level atmospheric disturbances in the vicinity of Sri Lanka, showery weather is expected over most parts of the island. Showers will occur at times in the northern, eastern, north-central, over-central and northwestern provinces. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places. That was the weather report. And now to end this news broadcast, the main points once again. The President pays homage to the Jayashri Mahabodhiya. The Ministry of Health requests all factions to refrain from creating fake news pertaining to COVID-19 relating deaths. COVID-19 recovery tally on the rise. All decisions concerning the coronavirus taken to protect the rights of the living. Isolation in Dam Street, Keselwath and Madadana to be lifted tomorrow, and parts of Ahaliyagoda and Godakavela AGA to be isolated. And on international news, President Trump's grievances leave Americans in need in limbo. And on sports news, Sri Lanka posts their highest test score in South Africa at the Centurion. That ends this news broadcast.